Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm back with another video, and this is going to be part 3 to What If Naruto was an older brother. And then this What If Naruto is the same age as Itachi, and he has a little sister who possesses the power of the Nine Tails. He possesses many bloodlines, including Shikotsumyaku, the bone Genkai that Kimimaro has, and a bunch of elemental Kekigenkai, and he doesn't have wood release, and he doesn't have a Sharingan or any other dojutsu for that matter. Yeah. First off, I would just like to take a few seconds to tell you all that I set up a Discord server with my channel manager, and the link is in the description of both of the new series videos, and it's also there in the channel description and in the community tab post that I put telling you guys about it. Uh, I also I'm displaying it here on the video. I would really love it if you guys can join the Discord channel server, and I'm planning to meet up for a discussion with you guys every Sunday at a certain time. So I would like to know whether you'd like this, because in the discussion we'd discuss about ideas for my channel and my videos, and like any what ifs I do. So rather than having a discussion with me in comments, you can speak to me about your ideas, and we can have like a real time discussion. If you guys are cool with this, the timing is going to be 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time. So just tell me if you're looking forward to this in the comments, or uh, never mind. Yeah, in the comments, so that I'll know whether or not I should join the voice channel on Discord, on the Discord server, because no one likes being stood up. Anyways, let's get on to the video. We left off with the team selection for Naruto, Kimimaro, and Itachi. Of course, Naruto was with Itachi and Anko, and Kimimaro was going to go on a pre-made team which had lost a member. It doesn't matter which one, but then the other two teammates are Shisui Uchiha and Yakumo Kurama. And I know, guys, you wanted me to put Yakumo on Naruto's team, but then you guys also wanted an Anko ship, and I don't think that would have been possible without Anko on Naruto's team. Anyways, Orochimaru became Naruto's, Itachi's and Anko's sensei, and Mikoto was the sensei of Kimimaro's team. And for those of you who don't know Mikoto, it's Sasuke and Itachi's mom. Anyways, let's just get on with this part now. Naruto, Itachi, and Anko were waiting for their sensei. And by the way, Orochimaru isn't late like Kakashi, obviously. It just wasn't time for him to come yet. Kimimaro was also waiting for Mikoto, and other than that, everyone left. Kimimaro was picked up by Mikoto a while later, and as Naruto, Itachi, and Anko were waiting, they suddenly felt a huge amount of bloodlust, killer intent. And although it didn't bother Naruto and Itachi very much, because Naruto was exposed to the killing intent of the Nine Tails, and also the killing intent of the masked man who was Obito. And by the way, if you don't remember, Kakashi wasn't told about Obito being the masked man yet, because he had just come out of his shell after being depressed for a really long time because of the death of his teammates. Naruto thought that, sorry, not Naruto, Minato thought that it would be better to let Kakashi, cool down a bit more before breaking the news to him. And obviously, they knew that they'd have to tell him someday. Yeah. But anyways, since Naruto experienced the killing intent of them, he wasn't really bothered by this. And since Itachi was also, uh, exposed to the killing intent of the Nine Tails during the Nine Tails attack, he already got a taste of the Nine Tails bloodlust, and also in his clan training, he was regularly exposed to killing intent and bloodlust to, you know, make him impervious to those things. And Anko, she was also experienced with the killing intent of the 90s, but then uh, she was already in the bunker during the attack, so it didn't affect her as much as Naruto and Itachi. And also, she wasn't really specially trained or anything like that, since she was an orphan and she didn't really have anyone to train her. So she was a little bit flustered, and she was very flustered, but then she wasn't as affected as, for example, Sasuke and Sakura were when Orochimaru attacked them in the Forest of Death. And a few moments later, Orochimaru came walking in the door, and he looked impressed at Naruto and Itachi, and he was like, "I'm impressed. Even with both of your status, for two academy students to resist my presence like that is truly a feat. It seems little Anko has a bit more fear than both of you guys." And suddenly Orochimaru disappeared to appear right behind Anko as he put her hands on her shoulders, and he was like, "That's what Orochimaru sensei is here for, hmm?" And at this point, Anko was extremely nervous because of Orochimaru's cold presence, and he was like, "Not to worry, my dear little genin. It will surely be interesting teaching you three." Yeah, so basically, just made that noise with his tongue. Basically, like he licked his lips and stuff. And such grotesque behavior even unnerved Itachi and Naruto a little bit, although they didn't really show it. But they inwardly shuddered at Orochimaru's behavior. And while showing nothing outwardly on his face, Naruto, was extremely suspicious of Orochimaru, and he definitely didn't trust him. He instantly figured that if Orochimaru was a sensei, he'd have to train even harder. Because for Genin and Orochimaru's team, everyone is out for themselves, and they can't really expect Orochimaru to protect them when they're in need. And then, anyways, after saying what he said, Orochimaru shinshined out of the room, like body flickered. Fuck, I'm reading too many fanfics where they use Japanese words for the jutsus. So yeah, he body flickered away from the room, and then all that was left where he was a snake with a piece of paper in its mouth, and the snake slithered over to Naruto and he handed him the piece of paper. And by the way, guys, I realized just now that I didn't give Naruto and Kimaru team numbers. So I'm just going to call them Team 1 and Team 2. So Orochimaru's team is Team 1 and Mikoto's team is Team 2. I don't want to use the same old numbers 7, 8, and 10 and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm just keeping it nice and basic with 1 and 2. So, anyways, on the note it was written, "To Team 1, meet me at Training Ground 44 immediately." And Itachi was like, "Training Ground 44?" And Naruto was like, "Yes, I've been there once. It's called the Forest of Death." And Anko was like, he wants us to go to a forest called Forest of Death? Is he insane?" And Naruto was like, "It's a possibility. But still, he is our Jonin sensei, and this was our first order from our Jonin sensei, so we must follow it." And Itachi and Anko nodded as Naruto and Itachi body flickered to the Forest of Death, leaving Anko on her own. And Anko was like, "Fucking show offs. At least they could have taken me with them." And just shaking her head, she trudged her way to the Forest of Death. And as soon as they went there, as soon as Anko reached, a big snake, crashed where they were, snapping its jaws. But all three of them jumped out of the way in time, and Orochimaru was like, "Nice reflexes. I suppose you indeed are worthy of my time." And Naruto, Itachi, and Anko just looked at Orochimaru, and Orochimaru was like, "Not up to chit chat, hmm? Alright, present yourselves." And Naruto, Itachi, and Anko looked at him in confusion, and Orochimaru was like, "Fine, I'll start. My name is Orochimaru of the Sanin. I was a student of Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage. My sole purpose is to gain all the knowledge that this world has to offer and master every jutsu that there is to learn. Now, you three present yourselves or I'll feed you to my snakes. Starting with you, Redhead." Naruto was like, "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. My sole purpose is to train and get stronger, to protect the things and the people that I care about." And Orochimaru frowned a bit at Naruto's purpose, and he then turned to Itachi and he was like, "Next you, Uchiha." And Itachi was like, "My name is Itachi Uchiha. My sole purpose is the same as Naruto's." And Orochimaru turned to Anko and he was like, Orochimaru was like, "Next you, the one with the purple hair." And Anko kind of scowled at Orochimaru, singling her out based on her purple hair. But nonetheless, she continued and she was like, "My name is Anko Mitarashi. I haven't really found out what my sole purpose is yet." And Orochimaru was like, "Nothing to worry about, Anko. For the three of you to have come this far at such a young age alone makes it worth my time training you. I am already very impressed with you three. However, for the sake of protocol, you three must meet me here tomorrow at 8 a.m. sharp to take the true Genin exams." And Anko was like, "What do you mean, Sensei? We already did that in the academy." And just as she finished her sentence, Orochimaru threw a kunai at her, which cut her in the cheek a little bit. And Anko winced at the pain, and Orochimaru was like, "You should let me finish, little girl. Interrupt me again, and I may not slip next time." And Anko just gulped in fear, and then Orochimaru was like, "Anyways, as I was going to answer Anko's question, before she felt the need to interrupt me, the Genin exams that you take in the academy are only to weed out the hopeless cases. We wouldn't want any dead weight to become shinobi now, would we?" Naruto and Itachi already didn't like and didn't trust their new sensei, but they decided that they would bear with him until they became Chunin. So, anyways, Orochimaru continued and he was like, "The real Genin exam that I'm going to give you all tomorrow is to help Jonin senseis like myself decide whether the Genin team is worth training or not. Anyways, I've already wasted enough time with you three. I have better things to do now. Now, shoo!" And Naruto, Itachi, and Anko all left. And Orochimaru was licking his lips, looking at Naruto and Itachi, and he was like, "If I finish that jutsu that I'm making, those two will become perfect bodies for me." As he sank underground and went back to his research lab. So, anyways, as they were walking away, Itachi turned to Naruto and he was like, "So, what do you think of our new sensei, Naruto?" And Naruto looked around and he did a few hand signs before putting his hand on the ground and saying, "Earth style, Earth dome." And by the way, Naruto did learn this jutsu. It was one of the three jutsus that he learned with Earth release. The other three were Mud Wall and Double Suicide Decapitation. And Anko was like, "What did you do that for, Naruto?" And Naruto was like, "One moment." And he did a long sequence of hand signs and put his hand on the ground again as sealing kanji, moved outward from his palms, and he said, "Silencing seal." And then he turned to Itachi and Anko and he was like, "I don't trust Orochimaru sensei. The way he acts, it seems he's on the verge of going rogue." And Itachi was like, "I thought so as well. Do you think we should tell the Hokage?" And Naruto shook his head and he was like, "I think that'll bring us more trouble than it's worth." Even though I am the Hokage's son and you're the son of the Uchiha clan head, our word is worth less than that of a Sanin. And if Orochimaru is doing anything that's against the law in this village, he doesn't seem like the type to leave any evidence. And Itachi nodded, and he was like, "Perhaps you're right. Once he realizes that we accused him, he'll probably kill us and become a missing nin. He seems like the type who's smart enough to stay under the radar of the Hokage, so it'll be more trouble for us." And Naruto just nodded and he turned to Anko and he was like, "What do you think, Anko?" And Anko just looked down and she was like, I thought he was pretty cool." And at that, Itachi raised an eyebrow and he was like, "Care to elaborate?" And Anko was like, "It's just the scare tactics he uses. They would be perfect for someone in the interrogation and torture department. Maybe after learning under him, I should try for a career there." And Naruto just shook his head and he was like, "To each their own, I suppose." But he looked at Anko with a serious glare and was like, "But Anko, regardless of how you feel about Orochimaru sensei, please don't let your guard down around him. I'm not sure where his loyalties lie." And Anko just narrowed her eyes and she was like, "I guess I can do that." And Naruto was like, "Good. Now let's go." And he did a few hand seals and deactivated the silencing seal and also the earth dome. And Itachi was like, "Where do you learn seals, Naruto? And when did you learn them?" And Naruto was like, "Oh, I just started a bit more than a year ago. I'm already on level 3." And Itachi was like, "How many levels are there?" And Naruto was like, 8. And Itachi was like, 8? And you're already on level 3? I heard from my clan that Fuinjutsu is no joke, Naruto. How did you manage to learn it that fast?" And Naruto was like, "Shadow clones and Uzumaki genes." And Itachi was like, "Wait, shadow clones to train?" And Naruto was like, "Why are you so surprised? Don't you use them too?" And Itachi was like, "How could I be such a fool? I could have trained so much more and learned so much more if I just used shadow clones." And Naruto raised an eyebrow and he was like, "By the way you're acting, I suppose you haven't thought of the idea?" And Itachi just shook his head in shame. And Naruto was like, "I'm actually a little surprised. You already used shadow clones to go to the academy. So it's quite surprising that it didn't occur to you to use them for training." And Anko was looking at them in amazement and she was like, "How do you two already know so much?" And Naruto and Itachi at the same time they were like, "We're from shinobi families." And Anko was like, I suppose that makes sense. You mentioned using the shadow clone jutsu for training. How does that work?" And Naruto and Itachi quickly explained how shadow clones worked and how they would be useful for training. And now Anko's jaw dropped at there being such a useful jutsu out there. And she was like, "Can you teach it to me?" And Naruto was like, "Sure, but your chakra reserves are a lot smaller compared to ours. With Itachi's reserves, I suppose he can make around 50 maximum. And I already know that I can make around 1500 maximum. But with your reserves, you'd only be able to make 5 at a time." And Anko was like, "That doesn't matter to me, it's a good start. Although I am a little jealous of you guys for having so much chakra." And Itachi was like, "Well, the issue with having a lot of chakra is that at the start you won't be able to control it properly. Since you have much smaller reserves of chakra than us, you'll be able to control it much more effectively. Since Naruto here has the most chakra among us, he'll probably have the least control." And Naruto was like, "I don't have that issue." And Itachi just glared at him and he was like, "Lucky bastard." And Naruto just smiled at that. So anyways, now we move to Mikoto training, Mikoto being with her team and Kimimaro. So Mikoto turned to Shisui and Yakumo and she was like, "Well, we have a new team member in team 2. Let us go through our introductions again so that we can all get well acquainted with each other." And Shisui and Yakumo just nodded. And Mikoto was like, I'll start with the introductions. My name is Mikoto Uchiha, also known as the Fire Mistress of Konoha. I like spending time with my family, training, and spending time with my best friend Kushina. I dislike arrogant people, perverts, and those who commit crime for their own enjoyment. My goal is to protect my family at any cost, and my dream is to rid the Uchiha clan of their arrogance. And Kimaru was extremely happy with this sensei because she's a MILF. Just kidding, guys. That's not why he was happy. He was actually happy because of her values, and he was happy that he had a sensei who actually cared and had her own values. So, anyways, Mikoto was like, now why don't you start introducing yourself for us, dear? Looking at Kimimaro with a kind smile, and Kimimaro was like, my name is Kimimaro Kaguya. I am originally from the Mist Village, but I was rescued by the Hokage's family when my clan attempted a coup d'etat and got themselves killed. My hobbies are training my bloodline, Shikotsumyaku or Dead Bone Pulse, spending time with my family, and training with Naruto. I also like relaxing in gardens from time to time to observe the flowers there. My dislikes are fighting just for the sake of it, or rather, people who fight just for the sake of it. Those who can't understand the difference between my cousin Natsumi and the Nine Tails, and those who threaten my precious people. My hobbies are training, gardening, and finding new types of flowers. My dream is to one day become more respected in this village, even though I came from the mist. And Mikoto nodded in approval of Kimimaru's, introduction. And Kimimaru's other teammates were smiling at him as well. And Mikoto turned to Shisui and she was like, Shisui, why don't you go ahead next? And Shisui was like, my name is Shisui Uchiha. My likes are training with my little brother Itachi, going on exciting missions, and learning new jutsus. My dislikes are arrogant people, power hungry people, and those who threaten peace. My hobbies are doing missions and teaching Itachi new techniques. My dream is to one day bring peace to the Uchiha clan and the rest of the world. Mikoto smiled when Shisui said this, and she was like, now it's your turn, Yakumo. So Yakumo was like, my name is Yakumo Kurama. I come from one of the lesser clans in Konoha known as the Kurama clan. We specialize in genjutsu to such a high degree that our genjutsu becomes reality. My likes are training in genjutsu and spending time with my team. My dislikes are arrogant people, perverts, and rapists. My hobby is discovering new types of genjutsu and painting. My goal is to one day surpass all genjutsu users and become the most powerful genjutsu user to ever live. And Mikoto once again smiled at her introduction. And Mikoto was like, alright then, now that we're done with introductions, normally we would have to have a genin test in order to judge you, Kimimaro. But since I've heard excellent things from you in the academy, I'll get permission to forego that entire process. I'm happy to have such good students. Alright, Team 2, from tomorrow we continue our missions. Meaning that from tomorrow, Team 2 reports for active duty. Dismissed. And all of them left, and Mikoto body flickered to the Hokage's office where, Minato was there waiting, and Orochimaru was there as well. And Minato was like, alright, Orochimaru, Mikoto, report. And Orochimaru was like, I would like to go first if you don't mind, Hokage-sama. And Minato was like, go ahead. And Orochimaru was like, all three of my students are very interesting. I have a feeling that they'll become extremely strong. And then Minato was like, alright, anything else, Orochimaru? And Orochimaru was like, I'll explain it a little more after their Genin exam. And Minato was like, alright then. Now Mikoto? And Mikoto was like, yes, Hokage-sama. Your nephew Kimimaro has been an excellent addition to our team. He's definitely quite the character. I can tell he is very talented and will fit right in with my team. This is why I request for you to permit him to be part of my team without the Genin exam. And Minato was like, "Are you sure, Mikoto?" And Mikoto was like, "Yes, Hokage-sama. I've seen how he carries himself, and he told me about a few of his abilities. At this point, him taking the Genin exam will only be a waste of time." And Minato was like, "Alright, Mikoto, I trust your judgment." Dismissed. And both of them nodded, and body flickered out of the office. Anyways, now we move to Naruto and Itachi. Naruto and Itachi were in the Uchiha household, and they invited Anko along to discuss strategy for the Genin exam. And Naruto was like, "So Itachi, did you get the file on Orochimaru?" And Itachi was like, "Yes, I did, Naruto. But why couldn't you have gotten it? After all, you're the Hokage-san, aren't you?" And Naruto was like, "I am, but then documents about all the ninjas in the village are kept secret and only for the eyes of the Hokage." And Itachi was like, "I see, so that's why you asked me." And Naruto was like, "Yes, I know that your clan has its own records of the ninja in the village, and that it's open to all high ranking members of the clan." And Itachi was like, "Ah, I see, so you used my father's position to get this information." And Naruto was like, "Itachi, I'm sorry if that offends you, but we are ninjas and we are on the same team, meaning we are each other's allies and each other's resources." And Itachi was like, I suppose so. Anyways, let's read the file. And after they all analyzed the file, Anko was like, "So, one thing we can get from all the reports in this file is that Orochimaru is very cunning." And Naruto was like, "That's correct. And also, it seems that the thing he values most is knowledge. He also seems to value strength. He isn't above using unscrupulous means to get what he wants." And Itachi spoke, and he was like, "So that most likely means that we'll have some kind of test that involves sparring with him. Since he values knowledge, he'd want to know the techniques that we have. And since he values strength, he'd like to see how effectively we can use our techniques against him." And Naruto was like, "Precisely." And Anko was like, "You guys are so lucky, it's not fair. You already have several techniques under your disposal, but I only have taijutsu." And Naruto was like, "Shinobi don't complain about things not being fair, Anko. But still, don't worry, me and Itachi will help you so that you can learn a few techniques that will impress Orochimaru." And Anko was like, "You will?" And Itachi was like, "Of course, we're a team, are we not?" And Anko just smiled and hugged the both of them. And they started getting, like teaching Anko. So first, Naruto took a piece of paper from his pocket and gave it to Anko. And Anko was like, "What is this, Naruto?" And Naruto was like, "I don't know exactly what it's called. And for some reason, it seems no one does. But then I call it chakra affinity paper." And Anko was like, "Chakra affinity paper?" And Itachi was like, "Yes, you know how people perform ninjutsu, right?" And Anko nodded. And Itachi was like, "And you know how there are five elements of that chakra can be changed into, right?" And Anko was like, "Yes." And Itachi was like, "Well, for all shinobi, it's easier to mold their chakra into certain elements instead of being able to mold it easily into all of them. These chakra natures are called their chakra affinities. And while you still will be able to learn ninjutsu that is not of the element that is your chakra affinity, the chakra required to perform this ninjutsu would be more, and the techniques would be more difficult to perform." And Anko nodded, and she was like, "So how do I find out my chakra affinity?" And Naruto was like, "Well, that's where the paper comes in. You have to channel your chakra into it. If it burns, you have the fire chakra affinity. If it becomes wet, you have the water chakra affinity. If it gets cut into two, then you have the wind chakra affinity. If it crumbles, then you have the earth chakra affinity, and if it crumples up, then you have the lightning chakra affinity. And Naruto pulled out four chakra papers, and he was like, "Here, let me show you." And he channeled his four different chakra natures into each of them, and one split into two, one burned up, one crumpled up, and one became soggy. And Anko was like, "Wow, you have four?" And Naruto was like, "Yes, I can also mold my chakra into earth. However, since I don't have the affinity for earth, earth jutsus are much more taxing on me." And Anko nodded in awe. And Itachi already knew that Naruto had four chakra natures, but still, it was amazing. Like, no matter how many times he saw that. And Itachi was like, "Unlike our blessed Naruto here, I have two chakra affinities." And he held up two chakra papers and channeled chakra into each of them. And one burned and one became wet. And he was like, "As you can see, I have fire and water, whereas Naruto has everything except for earth." And Anko was like, "What if I have more than one?" And Naruto and Itachi were like, "Don't worry, then we will be able to tell what chakra affinities you have." But then to make the demonstration easier, we use different chakra affinity papers to demonstrate our chakra affinities. And Anko channeled her chakra into the paper, and one side began to burn, and the other side crumbled into dirt. And Itachi was like, "Congratulations, Anko, you have fire and earth." And Anko just smiled, and Naruto was like, "Anyways, now that we have your affinities, I'm going to teach you a jutsu that will help you with your training. It will also help you increase your chakra reserves." And Anko was like, "The shadow clone jutsu, right?" And Naruto was like, "That's right, Anko. You have to place your hands like this, where the first two fingers of each hand are perpendicular to each other." And Anko did the hand seal for shadow clone. And Itachi was like, "Wonderful, Anko. Now channel chakra when you do that. And imagine your chakra splitting." And Anko was like, let's see." And she did the technique, and she pumped as much chakra into it as possible, and she found out that she was able to make a maximum of 7 clones. And Naruto was like, "Wonderful, Anko. This means you have Chunin level chakra reserves." And Anko was like, that's excellent." And Naruto was like, "Hold your horses. I know you can make 7 clones, but then if you reach chakra exhaustion, you can die. So to keep it safe, we're only going to use 4 or 5 of your clones as part of the training." And Anko was like, "A bummer. Hey Naruto, just out of curiosity, how much chakra do you have?" And Naruto was like, "I don't even know anymore. I was told that when I was born, I had the same amount of chakra as the one tail." And Itachi was like, "The one tail?" And Naruto was like, "Haven't you guys learned about the tail beasts?" And Anko was like, "Wait, tail beasts as in plural? So the nine tails isn't the only one?" And Naruto was like, "Yes, there are actually 9 of them. I'm surprised that you didn't learn this, Itachi." And Itachi was like, "Well, I guess they decided to teach me that later on." And Naruto was like, "Anyways, there are 9 tail beasts: the one tail, 2 tails, 3 tails, and so on until the 9 tails. The number of tails corresponds to how powerful the tail beast is, and the upgrade in power with each tail is exponential. Meaning, the 2 tails has double the chakra of the one tail, the 3 tails has double the chakra of the 2 tails, and so on until the 9 tails has double the chakra of the 8 tails. Meaning, the 9 tails is stronger than all the other tail beasts combined." And Anko was like, "The one tails must have been pretty weak to have that less chakra compared to the 9 tails." And Naruto was like, "You have no idea what you're talking about, Anko. The one tail has the chakra capacity of at least 2 Kage." And Anko was like, "What? Do you know what you're saying? That means that the 9 tails has at least the power of 512 Kage." And Naruto was like, "I said chakra capacity, Anko, not the power level." Due to the almost infinite chakra capacities of the tail beasts, Shinobi came up with clever ways to deal with them. For example, the Mist Village created a sword known as a shark skin sword, which has the ability to absorb chakra and transfer it to the user. And the Whirlpool Village created Fuinjutsu, or sealing arts, which can seal tail beasts inside things or people. And Anko was like, "So you have the chakra capacity of two Kage?" And Naruto was like, "That was when I was born. My chakra capacities have probably tripled since then." And Anko was like, "My god, you probably have more chakra than all Kage combined." And Naruto was, just shrugged and he was like, "High chakra capacity doesn't mean anything when you don't have strong techniques." And Itachi was like, but you have several A rank jutsu already, Naruto." And Naruto was like, "Itachi, if I used all my A rank jutsus right now, it wouldn't even put a dent in my chakra reserves." And Anko was like, "What?" And Naruto was like, "Only if I successively fire off S rank jutsus, I'll start to feel my chakra drain." And Itachi and Anko are like wide eyed at the amount of chakra Naruto has. And until Naruto clapped his hands and he was like, "Anyways, we have wasted enough time. Let's continue on with Anko's training." And Anko and Itachi nodded. And Naruto was like, "Anko, make 5 clones." And Anko obliged, and Naruto was like, "Alright then, since I'm the only one here who knows any earth jutsus, I'll teach the first clone how to do earth jutsus. The second clone will practice earth manipulation. The third will learn fire ninjutsus, and the fourth will learn fire manipulation, and the fifth will learn how to break genjutsus. And the original Anko is going to learn taijutsu." And all the Ankos and Itachi nodded. And Naruto was like, "Itachi, since you've had more practice with fire, would you like to help Anko with her fire ninjutsu?" And Itachi was like, "Alright, I'll also help her with genjutsu, but then since I don't know how to do fire manipulation, you're going to have to help her with earth ninjutsu, earth manipulation, fire manipulation, and taijutsu." And Naruto was like, "That's not an issue." And Anko was like, "Wait, hold up. How come Itachi can do fire ninjutsu without learning fire manipulation?" And Naruto was like, "Anko, learning manipulation is not necessary to perform the ninjutsu itself, but it is to become proficient at it. For instance, see the difference in mine and Itachi's fireball jutsu. And Itachi, I'm not doing this to make fun of you, but then it's to help her learn why manipulation is important." And Itachi was like, "I understand, Naruto." And Naruto was like, "Alright then, first Itachi." And Itachi did the 7 hand signs that are necessary to do the fireball jutsu, and he shot out a massive fireball. And Anko was absolutely amazed at seeing the jutsu. And Itachi stopped, and then it was Naruto's turn. And Anko was like, "Wait, you're going to top that?" And Naruto was like, "Just watch." And he put his hands together in a single tiger hand seal. And as he took a breath, Anko was like, "Wait, why aren't you doing the entire sequence of hand seals?" And but before Anko could say more, Naruto blew out an extremely massive fireball that was at least 3 times the size of Itachi's. And along with that, it was also a lot brighter than Itachi's. And Anko was like, "Amazing." And she was like, But Naruto, how do you do it with only one hand sign when Itachi did it with 7?" "The answer is again elemental manipulation, Anko," said Naruto. And Anko was like, "What do you mean?" And Naruto was like, "The hand seals used to perform a ninjutsu is to help mold the user's chakra into the necessary element and shape required to perform the jutsu. But with manipulation, you can drastically reduce the number of hand seals needed to perform a jutsu." And Anko was like, "Ah, so it saves time as well when you're catching a jutsu." And Naruto was like, "Exactly, Anko. While it is important to learn hand seals to learn ninjutsu, It's a waste of time to learn to perform many hand seals to execute a single jutsu. It can allow the enemy to execute an attack of their own before you finish yours. That's why it's important to keep the hand seals to a minimum. Anyways, Naruto and Itachi trained Anko, and by the end of the day, Anko learned two C rank jutsus, which were of one fire and one earth. And the C rank fire technique was the fireball jutsu, and for the earth one, it was the earth encampment wall. And Anko didn't make any progress with elemental manipulation. Like she made a little bit, but then it wasn't even noticeable. And with taijutsu, her reaction times improved and her speed improved a bit as well, along with the strength of her attacks. But and she also got a little bit more technique with taijutsu, and her attacks were less brash than before. So yeah, and with genjutsu, she learned how to release genjutsus up to B rank, because that is the level up to which Naruto and Itachi knew genjutsus. So, anyways, as it was getting late, they all went to sleep, and the next day, they came at the allocated time to the Forest of Death. And as they all got there, Anko was like, "So, what do you guys want to do while waiting for Orochimaru Sensei?" But then the other two didn't have a chance to respond because suddenly a snake lunged at them, and they all dodged. And they saw Orochimaru hanging from a branch of a tree, like using chakra to stick to it. He's like, again, nice reaction time, my little genin. And he bared his unnaturally pointed teeth at the tree, and he was like, "From now on, up till noon, I am the predator and you're the prey. Uh, you best not get caught." Now that wouldn't be very pretty now, would it? And he let out all of his bloodlust, and all three genin suddenly found themselves unable to move. And Naruto was thinking, "What is this? At least the Kyuubi's killing intent was spread throughout the village, but this, it's concentrated all in one place. I can barely move." And these same thoughts were running in the minds of Itachi and Anko. They were both thinking about how they couldn't move, and they were thinking about how every time they thought of doing something, they would see images of their deaths, and you know, it felt as if no matter what they're going to do, they're going to die. And Naruto slowly brought a kunai to his hand, and he slashed his palm to use pain to break away from the genjutsu, like Sasuke. But instead of stabbing his thigh, which would hinder his movement, he instead sliced across his palm. So, just as the snake was approaching him, he performed a substitution, and then he grabbed Itachi and Anko to get out of the way, and he was like, "Guys, snap out of it! We don't have a chance of winning if we don't even try to fight." And Itachi and Anko, shook off the nervousness, and nodded their heads, and they're like, "We need a plan. We can't go against someone like that." And Naruto was like, "All right, here's an idea. Itachi, make a clone that and infuse it with the largest amount of chakra possible. I will do the same." And Itachi was like, "Alright then." And Naruto and Itachi both made one shadow clone, and they were like, and Naruto was like, "Our shadow clones will be long range support, and we three will engage him in taijutsu." And feeling left out, Anko was like, "But I know some ninjutsu as well now." And Naruto was like, "Yes, but it's not battle tested. We'll keep yours for an emergency." And Anko nodded, and they suddenly heard a voice, and it was Orochimaru. And Orochimaru was like, "Hey, enough time for planning, huh? Let's see if the little time that I gave you can really help you against my snakes." Anko and Itachi cursed while Naruto regained his composure, and Naruto pulled out a long bone sword from his shoulder, and he did the same with the other shoulder from like using his other hand, and he carried two bone swords of the same length, and he announced Dance of the Camellia, and he started whipping out at the snakes pretty much and destroying all of them. And then Orochimaru decided to engage him and Itachi, who joined him in a fight, and he was very surprised, especially with Naruto's style. Itachi was using the classic Uchiha's interceptor fist, which was a very reactive method of fighting, which he didn't really like. But then he found the style that Naruto was using to fight to be very unpredictable. It seemed to be at complete random, but then it exploited any openings that he gave. Suddenly, Orochimaru's eyes widened as he felt the tip of one of Naruto's bone swords cut against his cheek, and he dabbed his cheek with his fingers, and he was like, "My Naruto-kun, we're getting serious now, are we?" And Naruto's expression didn't change until Orochimaru suddenly sped up and got into Naruto's defense, and suddenly Naruto announced the Dance of the Larch, and then from his rib cage, his ribs sprouted, and these attacked Orochimaru and pierced his arms. And Orochimaru was like, wonderful. I really enjoyed training you three. And at this point, Anko joined the fray as well. And while Orochimaru was focused on Naruto and Itachi, she tried to sneakily attack him from behind. And Orochimaru caught her wrist, and he was like, "Not a bad tactic, my dear Anko, but I am not a Sanin for nothing." And he suddenly clasped his hands together, and he was like, "Ninja art, formation of 10,000 snakes." And a huge number of snakes came from his mouth, and Itachi was like, "Naruto, what do we do?" And Naruto was like, "It's a long shot, but I have an idea." And Itachi was like, "Well, get on with it then." And Naruto jumped from branch to branch until he was high in the air, and then he put his hands together in a single bore hand sign, and he was like, "Fire style, searing migraine," as he shot a huge ball of pressurized fire onto the ground. And Anko asked Itachi, "Do you think that's actually going to be enough to take out all the snakes? I mean, the amount of space that's covered by those snakes is nothing. Uh, is so large compared to that fireball." And Itachi was like, "I don't know, Anko. One thing that you learned from being Naruto's friend is that he's extremely unpredictable." And as the fireball hit the ground, it exploded and sent like a huge wave of fire in all directions. And around the dome of fire, hot winds, started blowing around. And as Itachi and Anko felt the heat, Anko was like, "Damn, what the hell is that jutsu?" And Itachi was like, "I don't know. We'll ask him later." And all the 10,000 snakes were destroyed from that attack. And Orochimaru showed up from behind a tree, and he was like, "Wonderful, Naruto-kun. Now where did you learn a jutsu like that? That was definitely high A ranked, maybe even S ranked." And Naruto didn't say anything, and Orochimaru was like, so you won't waste words on a battlefield, huh? How admirable of you. Now let's test out some more of your abilities." And Naruto and Orochimaru fought a taijutsu battle until Orochimaru was able to restrain Naruto with his shadow snake hands. And as Naruto was pulled closer, Naruto was like, one word sensei, Boom. And then as soon as he said that, he exploded, taking Orochimaru completely by surprise, and showing that that wasn't actually Naruto. It was actually an exploding shadow clone. And the real Naruto was with Itachi and Anko regrouping, and Orochimaru was on a branch of a tree, and he was like, "Shit, I underestimated that brat. If I didn't substitute just now, I would have died." As he felt the number of burns on his skin, and Orochimaru was like, "I can't believe I let my guard down around a genin like that, and my carelessness came to bite me in the ass." And then Orochimaru just chuckled to himself, and he was like, "I suppose that's enough. They've already proven themselves to be worthy of my time." And he signaled to all the genins, and he was like, "This test is over. You pass. Team 1 is now officially active for duty. On active duty. And you are all now my genin, and I'm your Jonin sensei. You may address me as Orochimaru sensei or just sensei if you wish." Dismissed. And as the genin left, Orochimaru just started chuckling, and he was like, "My cute little genin, enjoy your little relaxation period. Once I start training you, you will be wishing that you die." And all three of them, except for Naruto, and basically Itachi and Anko, shivered at this. And Naruto doubted that Orochimaru would be able to give him any exercises or any training that would push him more than what he does or what Guy teaches him. And Orochimaru just stood there chuckling, and he was like, "See, I guess I would better report now. After all, Lord Hokage would want to know how his son is doing." Hmm. And he body flickered to the office, and Minato was like, "So, the results of your test?" And Orochimaru was like, "Well, Hokage sama, they were very interesting. Extremely strong for Genin. I would dare say they're already high Chunin level. Your son was the most impressive one." And Minato was like, "Oh, do tell how he did." And Orochimaru was like, "Certainly, Hokage sama." And he explained the entire how the entire fight went. And Minato was like, "Wait, he used fire style searing migraine?" And Orochimaru was like, "Why, yes, he did. I would love to know how he learned such a high-ranking technique. It was very powerful as well. It destroyed my entire formation of 10,000 snakes." And Minato's eyes widened, and he was like, "He must be using the library. Konoha got that technique from an S-rank missing nin from the waterfall village known as Kakuzu. The technique was observed and copied down onto a scroll by none other than Madara Uchiha." And Orochimaru's eyes widened at this information, and he was like, My, your son is quite talented to master such a technique. He can only do it in one hand seal." And Minato was like, "Wow, I am proud of him. To come so far in elemental manipulation at such a young age is no small feat. He might as well be Jonin." "You've given me a lot to think about, Orochimaru. You're dismissed." And after that, Minato was left with his own thoughts. And he was thinking, should I restrict him from the library? That's not a very good idea. He's already very mature for his age, and he wants to get strong for all the right reasons. I'll have a little talk with him about what techniques he can practice where." And then he just nodded to himself, and he continued with his paperwork. And Naruto went home with his teammates. Like, he basically invited them over to his house. And as they were going, Itachi was like, "Naruto, Anko, my mother will be giving birth to my little sister tomorrow. Would you like to come to the hospital and see her?" And Naruto and Anko nodded, and Naruto was like, "By the way, Itachi, I don't understand why I didn't ask this before, but how come your mother is still on active shinobi duty when she's pregnant and about to deliver your sister?" And Itachi was like, "Naruto, she was actually not on active duty for the past 6 months. But since she was going to give birth anyways, a few days after we became genin, she decided to get reacquainted with her students and take them on D-rank missions until she gave birth. And Naruto's like, I see. I'll be glad to be there with you, Itachi. I would love to see her. And Itachi smiled, and Anko basically just agreed with Naruto, and they went to, you know, Naruto's house. Like, they went inside the house, and they saw Naruto's mom, Kushina, with Natsumi on a high chair as she was trying to feed her baby food. I mean, not baby food since she's already three, but then like softened foods pretty much. Sorry, not three. She's two. Sorry about that. But then, yeah, softened food. And anyways, Naruto was like, "Mother, I passed my Genin exam." And Kushina, without really looking at him, was like, "That's great, honey." And she just continued focusing on Natsumi, and Naruto kind of felt a little down because to become a shinobi was something he always wanted to do, and finally on the day he became a shinobi, his mother kind of waved it off like it doesn't really mean much. But he just shook his head at those thoughts because this was to be expected, since after all Natsumi is only two, and it would be dangerous to leave her, alone around the house, and pay attention to Naruto. So of course Naruto understood. He understood his mother's actions. So Itachi and Anko were like kind of weirded out by the fact that his mom didn't really congratulate him, and Anko was like, Naruto, I don't mean to intrude on anything personal, but then what's up with your mom? And Naruto was like, oh, don't mind her. She's going to be like that for a while. My parents told me beforehand that after Natsumi was going to be born, they wouldn't be able to pay much attention to me, at least until she could take care of herself. And then after that, Itachi was like, what? That's horrible. Even after my mom gave birth to my little brother, she still always made sure that she spent some time with me. And Naruto was like, our mothers are different, Itachi. Don't try to compare them. And also, her energy levels have been lower than usual lately. Most likely because of the stress of having the nine tails ripped out of her. And then Anko was like, nine tails. And Naruto cursed himself for letting that slip. And Naruto was like, I'm sorry, I slipped up there. I promise I'll explain to you later, but then please promise me that you won't be looking further into this. And Itachi and Anko had puzzled looks on their faces, and Itachi was like, why? And Naruto was like, please, just trust me, Itachi. And Itachi reluctantly nodded, and so did Anko. And they spent the rest of the day just talking about, training and getting acquainted with each other and all that stuff. And once Itachi and Anko left, Naruto went out of the room, and it was almost time for dinner. And Natsumi came running up to him, and she was like, "Big brother, play with me." And Itachi heard this right as he was walking out of the house, and he turned back to see how Naruto would respond. And Naruto beckoned his sister towards him, and she came and he poked her on the forehead. And Itachi smiled at this, and he was like, "I'm totally using that on Sasuke." And Naruto, he heard Naruto say, "Sorry, Natsumi. How about tomorrow? I couldn't really get any training done today." And Natsumi blushed in embarrassment, and she was like, "Training, training, training. You always train." And Naruto was like, "Do you know why I train, Natsumi?" And Natsumi was like, "Why?" And then Naruto was like, "Because I have to become very strong to protect all of you, mother, father, and especially you, my cute little sister." As he tapped her on the nose, and Natsumi had stars in her eyes, and she was like, Wow, you're so cool, big brother. And Naruto was like, I'm glad you think so. I'll tell you what, once you turn 4, I'll start training you as well, so that you can become strong like your brother. And Natsumi jumped in joy and ran off. And Naruto smiled and shook his head, thinking, she was right about me not spending much time with her though. There's no point in getting stronger when you lose your bonds with the people you want to protect. And Itachi just, smiled at this and he walked off home. And the next day, Naruto, Anko, and Itachi were all in the hospital waiting for Mikoto to deliver. Fugaku was in the delivery room helping Mikoto, and Itachi was carrying Sasuke on his shoulders as Sasuke couldn't be left alone at home. Sasuke was like, "Big brother, when will little sister come out?" And Itachi tapped his forehead and he was like, "Patience, Sasuke, good things come to those who wait." And Naruto narrowed his eyes at Itachi and he was like, "Really, Itachi? You're an Uchiha through and through, you know that?" And Itachi was like, "Shut up, man." And Naruto just smiled to himself. After a few hours of waiting, the nurse came running out of the room and she was like, "Itachi Uchiha, come with me now." And Itachi was about to smile, but he saw the look on the nurse's face and realized that something must be wrong. And he was about to come, but then the nurse was like, "Leave Sasuke here." And Itachi was like, "Naruto, Anko, I trust you can take care of my little brother." And Naruto nodded and he was like, "Leave it to us." And when Itachi entered the room, and Naruto, Anko, and Sasuke waited for a few minutes for Itachi. And after a while, Itachi came running out of the room in tears. And Naruto and Anko looked to each other and nodded. And Naruto was like, "Come with us, Sasuke." And Sasuke nodded, and Naruto put him on his shoulders. And he ran. He and Anko ran after Itachi. And as they were running, Anko was like, "What do you think happened?" And Naruto was like, "I have a suspicion, but I hope I'm wrong." And they ran after him, and when they finally caught up to him, and Naruto caught Itachi on the shoulder, and he was like, "Itachi, what happened?" And Itachi was like, "Please, Naruto, Anko, just leave me alone for now." And Naruto was like, "Let me guess, something happened to your sister, right?" And Itachi just nodded, and he closed his eyes and he was like, "She was born with a large hole in her heart. She only survived for a few minutes outside the womb before she died." And Itachi opened his eyes, showing the two Tomoe Sharingan in each eye, and he was like, "My sister died, Naruto. Uh, she died while my mom was giving birth." And Naruto nodded his head sadly while Anko went full out crying. And Naruto spread his arms and he was like, "Come here, Itachi." As Itachi just hugged Naruto and continued crying harder. And Naruto patted his back and he was like, "There, there." And Anko, seeing her two teammates hugging, would have laughed if this was any other situation. But then, seeing that the situation was as dire as it was, she also joined in and hugged Itachi. And after a good few minutes of crying, Itachi got off and he sniffled, and he was like, "Thank you both. I'm better now." And Naruto and Anko saw that his Sharingan was still on, and Naruto was like, "Itachi, and now that you've let everything out, I think you have to see something." And Naruto pulled out a kunai and put it at an angle such that Itachi could see his reflection. And Itachi looked at his reflection and he was like, "The Sharingan." And Naruto nodded, and Itachi started crying even more after that. And he was like, "How can I use them, Naruto? How can I use my Sharingan?" They're a reminder of my pain, a reminder of my sister's death. And Naruto looked at Itachi with a dead serious look on his face, and he was like, Itachi, first you tell me, what do you think the Sharingan is? And Itachi was like, it's the pride of the Uchiha clan. It's a Kekkei Genkai, or dojutsu. And Naruto was like, while it technically is all those things, Itachi, your answer is wrong. The Sharingan is a tool, a part of your strength. While it does remind you of your sister's demise, it is also a weapon for you, something that will help you protect your remaining precious people. And Itachi nodded and he was like, I see, you are right. As of right now, I don't think I'll be able to stomach using the Sharingan, but I'll take your words into consideration, Naruto. And Naruto nodded and he was like, come on, Itachi, Anko, let me take you to a place. I guarantee that it'll help you cheer up Itachi. And Itachi looked at Naruto angrily and he was like, are you implying that I should forget about what happened today? And Naruto was like, no, Itachi, you misunderstand me. What happened to you today is a very sad thing, but it shouldn't keep you from feeling happy again. I'm not saying you should forget it, but you should move on. Of course, this won't happen immediately, but try not to dwell on your grief too much. And Itachi nodded and he was like, thank you, Naruto. And Naruto was like, Sasuke, you coming too? And by the way, guys, through all of this, Sasuke was crying, but then since he didn't really understand the emotional complexity of this issue, it didn't induce his, like, it didn't awaken his Sharingan. So yeah, and anyways, Sasuke was like, alright, big brother Naruto, I'll come too. And Naruto led them to the best restaurant in Konoha, which is Ichiraku Ramen. And Anko was like, is the food really that good in this little shack? And Naruto looked at her like she was crazy and he was like, you don't know half of it, Anko. Judge once you have eaten here. And Anko just shrugged and all of them ordered ramen and they helped Itachi get over what happened and also Sasuke. But as they finished up the ramen and they're leaving, all of them noticed one thing, like all of them except Naruto. They noticed that they didn't even see Naruto eat, but then somehow bowls were continuously piling up beside him. And Anko was like, Naruto. And Naruto was like, yes. Naruto was like, yes. And Anko was like, how come we didn't see you eat, but then we saw the ramen bowls piling up beside you? And Naruto was like, because I ate the ramen, of course. And Anko was like, but how did you eat it so fast that we didn't even see you eating it? And Naruto was like, through my mouth. I ate, chewed, and swallowed. Is that too hard to believe? And Anko was like, yes. And Naruto was like, fine then, how do you eat? And Anko was like, the same way you eat, but then we didn't even see you eat. And Naruto just waved it off, and he was like, you just were looking at the wrong time. And Anko got a tick mark on her forehead, and she was like, you're insufferable, you know that? And Naruto was like, I've been told. And through this interaction, Itachi chuckled a little bit, and Anko was like, and now we have our Itachi back. And Itachi was like, thanks so much, both of you. I really mean it. And Anko was like, anything for a friend, Itachi. And Itachi just smiled, and they all went off. So, anyways, that concludes part 4 to What If Naruto. Sorry, not part 4, part 3 to What If Naruto Was an Older Brother. And I hope you like this part. And like, unlike the before, the previous series, I'm not really taking. I'm not really making Naruto OP really early on, but I'm kind of spacing it out a bit. Yeah, this is going to be a bit more gradual. So I hope you guys enjoy the change in pace. And if you like this video, please give me a like and subscribe to my channel and share this video with your friends. And comment your ideas for my channel, this series and future what ifs on my channel, and join our Discord server. So thanks for watching, guys.